we started. We started day 1, right? So this is episode 55.
55.
So actually,
Oh my
technically, if you count the 3 parlay weeklies that we put in, so that's technically 59. So almost 60. You could have been on 60, but it's technically 55 for us for regular podcasts. And I thought about it.
Your middle-age crisis right
Look
here.
about where we fucking started.
Yeah, I know. God.
We started with a cell phone in front of us in the middle of a living room talking about like technology and space with Jon Spain. Like it was actually one of my most listened to like podcasts.
Really? That's pretty surprising considering how half-assed I did that. But I mean, it was pretty fun. I've done a number of what's it called? I guess lectures almost to my friends on this, and it's usually a snooze for everybody. It's like, well, do you want to talk about SpaceX and their Falcon 9 rocket?
Yeah, see, like I don't know, it just was funny because I think afterwards someone came to me and they're like, yo, not gonna lie, but that was the most boring fucking episode we've ever listened to. And I was like, but you listened. And they're like, yeah, through the entirety. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It was only 59 minutes.
It was only 59 minutes. Yeah.
But now, before we had a time limit that we had to have on the podcast app with the phone. So you could only do like 58 minutes and then you could add in like your introductions or whatever else.
Yeah.
Where this one, you hit the 59-minute mark and you don't even realize it. All of a sudden, we're sitting there going, oh shit, like it's already like 3 o'clock. Like what's happening? Like how long have we been doing this? And it's like, oh, we've been on here for an hour and a half. Like, oh shit. You know what I mean? So time flies.
Yeah, I mean, I completely believe it. I mean, what, do you have to end up clipping some of this stuff and, mixing and matching?
we go for it. We go for it. Because I found that it's the conversation that we have with people is much better when it's
free flowing.
Yeah, just like you gotta let it go, right? Like let me move this up just a little bit. Hopefully it's not loud. All right, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find myself, it's easier, like some of these conversations I have with some of these people, like it's almost like catching up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the best is when you get into those, what are the words I'm looking for? Like you kind of move off into a tangent almost. Mm-hmm. Like you bring up something and all of a sudden it triggers something in my brain going, oh yeah, it's like that one time we met the army chick and that one girl at the bar.
Oh God, no.
Yes. So wait, what was that one? So she was all right. So I remember.
It was Air Force, and we met her at what is it? One of the clubs at Scottsdale.
Bottle Blonde. Sunday Funday, right?
Yeah, and you jumped on the grenade, and I mean, this girl. I mean, like she was okay. Her face was a little fucked up. She had a little pimply, but she had like an ass. And, we just started a conversation about just me bullshitting about cars, but that I know like kind of a little bit about. And she was like, wow, you really know your stuff. And I was like, yeah, totally. And I got her number and everything. And she's like, I have to go off to jump school, I think is what it was, or some sort of training. And she was gone for a semester. And then I drunkenly called her once she was supposed to be back. And I, poured my guts out, being like, "Yo, we need to go out. I need to take you on a date. I need to."
Did you ever take her on a date or no?
Mm-mm. I called her drunkenly once, and I never said anything to her again.
I want to feel like that Sunday that happened was also the infamous Mimosa Sunday where you yacked in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was, and I also made out with her after this.
Yeah, I remember. That's why it was so distinct in my mind that you literally like we okay. Think about how much we drank in those Mimosa Sundays. Like, imagine if we tried
salty.
Imagine if we tried doing that now.
Oh God, I haven't had a mimosa or done anything like that since then. Like, I've cut back way, like a ton. I mean, I was like sober, or at least I didn't drink for about 3 months after I got back from the cruise up the coast, and I was back home in California house sitting. And, I drank a little bit over Christmas, and then when I was studying for the LSATs, for another 2-month stretch, I was completely sober.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like it's nice because you feel good. You don't have to deal with like the hangover crap, even if you only drink just a little bit. And it also kind of, you lose a bit of your tolerance. So when you do decide to have like, let's have a couple drinks with the boys or, hang out with friends, it makes that experience that much more special, I feel. Because it's like, all right, well, I don't do this often, so this almost commemorates a the good times we're having
Yeah.
at that particular point, which, I feel good about that. I feel good about not drinking as much as I used to anyway, which is why this weekend I think is going to be kind of nice because I haven't, really been doing any
So
drinking.
it's weird. So what I've normally found myself doing lately, probably in the last 2 months or so, John, is that I found myself like I can drink like 2 or 3 drinks like in a night. I'm cool. I'm chilling. I'm all right, right? But if I go out and have a couple of drinks, it's totally different, right? If I have 2 when I'm out, I'm already like actually it's weird. It's really weird. So at home. I can have 4. Like last night I had 4. I was fine, right?
Yeah.
In my head I was like, dude, like I'm not even. I don't even have a buzz, right?
Yeah.
But if I go out and I have 2 or 3, I'm okay, right? I'm perfectly fine too, right?
Yeah.
But that's also hard alcohol when you're out.
Yeah.
Compared to like seltzers at home or something like that. Stupid.
No, yeah, going with the easy stuff.
And then you hit like number 4 and 5. That's when you start getting wasted when you're out there, and you're like, this is crazy. Like I haven't been this drunk in a long time, right? Like this is a lot of drinking. Like I don't remember doing this, and it just is crazy how we were like when we were all in school together, what we would do on the weekends, like Friday nights or Saturdays or on Sundays, like we drank. Like,
we did. I mean, it was kind of like, what is it? I mean, it was just like, why wouldn't we? I mean, we've got the alcohol in the house. Like, we're done with school for the day. I mean, we can go to the pool or just hang out. I was like, hey, you want a beer? You want a claw? You want to do a shot?
well, I know what I realized is that we probably drank the most when we were at the pool.
That's so true.
Because we're at the pool. You're at the pool for 3 hours. You got a cooler full of drinks, and all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh, we just went through like 4 packs of White Claw. We went through like 2 cases of beer, and we need more booze still. Like we still want to party longer, and it's like this is crazy.
No, and I mean, as a result of that, what was that weekend where I borrowed Ben's $300 speaker?
Oh yes.
And I lost, or I think I left at the pool, even though I have a recollection of putting it in the little pool tote bag that we took back. And Ben was like, so where's my speaker? And, I was like, oh, it's around the house somewhere. And then, like, right before we left, it was like, okay, it's actually gone. And I ended up paying for half of whatever's a Venmo modem, like $180 or something.
Yeah, it was
like
his
that.
fault for letting him the speaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
You should have understood. We're like a bunch of drunk people hanging out at a pool. You think we're gonna forget some stuff? Probably.
yeah, probably.
That was the infamous. I think that was infamous threesome night.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was infamous threesome night. That was that day because we had a whole crew at the pool.
I remember that, and
It
we
was
also,
Josh's like birthday ish kind of thing going on.
yeah, and was that the same time that I also, or at least what's her face, Cara?
Yes,
She came by.
She was there too. Like we had it was a whole situation there.
Yeah,
Like Lindsay and her friend, and then like Cara was there. Chris was chilling. Like it was a full crew.
it was a bunch of
And
people.
like I think Chives and them kind of showed up with Eli. Like when Addie was dating Eli, like
Yeah,
he showed up with his friends. Like we had a full like probably 20 people there, 25 people there, like just out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I mean, it was a great time. I just remember it was really funny because it was. You were putting in work with these girls, and I was like, so what is Kyle like actually doing what I think he's doing? And I think I was talking to Courtney, and I was like, is Kyle gonna try to pull the trigger here? And he was like, well, she was like, yeah, I think so. And lo and behold, I mean, it was like you came downstairs like a reigning champion here.
Oh yeah, I remember we talked about it the other day. My roommate and I and Josh and I we were talking about it, and I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, man, I remember walking down. Everyone was down in the living room, and I walked down and went, yeah, that's right, boys. Everyone's have a threesome. I was hyped, man. I remember that was hype because it was better because everyone was downstairs and they knew what happened. It's like there was no like if no one was there, no one would believe me. No, people would have been like, yeah, whatever, like you're full of shit. Like,
so you don't have to say what pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah, right. Like
so
I was
you
like,
gotta
no,
convince them. Like, can we take like a group photo together?
yeah, right. Like yeah, so I was like, it happened. Like I heard you guys outside that fucking door, like going, oh, are they in there? Like what's going on? Like are they? Oh, they're fucking. But no, I wanted to talk to you about your boat trip. I think this is like the one thing we were excited about to listen to. And
Ouch. That's the only thing I'm worth.
well, no, but maybe. But so it's funny. So we were talking about. Oh shoot! Let's see. My computer's lagging here. Let's see this. But yeah, but I wanted to talk to you about. Let's see. Hold on. Arian? What do you need me to do?
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, sorry, my computer like crapped out on me over, so I got no messages. Anyways, so I wanted to talk to you about this trip that you did. How we'll obviously paint the background or her first. Let me do this, listeners. If you remember from the first ever episode, and then I think episode maybe like 3 or 4, maybe even 6 or 7. Jon Spain was a part of all of those. He was there for number 1, so he's back for 55.
I popped your cherry.
He did. He popped my cherry. He bet me over and said, "Here you go, buddy." And so he's here now. He's coming back from California, back to AZ for the weekend to hang out. And he has been paying for a storage unit for like 9 months here because he can.
Yeah.
So that's why he's really back, I think.
It's time to get the stuff anyway. But yeah, for the cruise up, so right after our little road trip here, and I flew out from Texas to Florida. I jumped in the boat. The boat's a Grand Alaskan 65 cabin cruiser. It's a beautiful boat. And this is mom and dad's retirement. It's kind of like the second house almost. It's just a big house that floats, and you can move it. And we went from just a little bit north of Fort Lauderdale all the way up to the Chesapeake and to the top of the Chesapeake, where my grandmother has some waterfront property there. So we basically, day in, day out cruising. You get up at the crack of dawn, or even sometimes earlier than that, and you cruise all day at around, 8 knots or so, which is about 10 miles an hour. And we'd try to make about 50 nautical miles a day. And for the most part, I was driving because, that was kind of the advantage of having me on the boat. And, Dad likes to refer to me as his bilge rat. I get assigned all the jobs that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so, I get to drive this yacht all day. And it's fun for a while, but what ends up building up is like, I don't know if you've ever been on like a lake boat or a ski boat or something that goes remotely faster than 10 miles an hour. It gets kind of, you get a little pent up. It's just like, okay, can we go just a little bit faster? Can we push up the throttle just a little bit? And the funny thing about this boat is, the faster you go, like going from like 10 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour is like from 1 gallon per hour of fuel to 20 gallons an hour per engine. So there's 2 engines on the boat. So that's 40 gallons of diesel per hour to go 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that's like ripping up $20 bills and throwing them over the side. So we didn't usually go that fast, but what the cool part is we, for the most part, cruised up the ICW, which is the Intercoastal Waterway, which runs all the way up the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to go out in the ocean. And you get to see some really cool houses, like these $1 million, villa kind of a boats here. And you also, you go through some really, really shallow spots. Like
any chances of bottom out ever?
Oh yeah, like the captain, who it was also the broker who sold my parents the boat, said in this, if this is what you're signing up to do, this great loop thing, which is going all the way around the eastern seaboard of the United States, you're going to run aground. I mean, it's an inevitability. If you don't run aground, you're not doing it right. So, I mean, and what she means by that is through the ICW, the Army Corps of Engineers does mappings, like sonar mappings of the ICW itself, and it'll get it in some places. If you're not careful, it'll drop down to 6 inches of water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Ah,
and the draft of that boat, which is like from the water line to the lowest point of the boat, is 5 feet usually. So you need to be really careful. And that was part of the fun of navigating. There was a you follow. It's called the heat map, which actually shows the depths and everything. And thankfully, I didn't run aground. I didn't do anything like that. And right after I left on the way back down the coast, when mom and dad got another family friend of ours to come on board, they ran aground, or they actually skimmed the bottom and dinged a prop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it wasn't completely like, they didn't rip it off or tear a hole in the boat or bend the propeller shaft. But when when Dad got it hauled out at Fort Pierce, they had to pull the prop off, and one of the blades there's a fissure that was like I think 3 or 4 inches long.
Really?
On it, yeah.
Wow.
And they had to pull the prop, and they send it to a foundry, and they do a bunch of repairs and stuff. But anyway, I sent you some Snapchats and some videos of
Yeah.
of it, and it's just it was a grand time. It was great. I'm not going to get a chance to do something like that until
So
I make a bunch
with
of
your
money.
parents though, so now do they they kept the boat there and they're just keeping it until the next spring, till pretty much the spring, and then they're going to take it up and around, or what's their plan?
Yeah, so Dad recently went back to do some maintenance and just check up on things, and they're planning to go back in April, beginning of April, and they'll basically be there for the entirety of the season. So from April probably till October or November, come back every now and then.
So, all right, let me ask you this then. So, okay, you were on the boat and it's stationary, right? It's docked up pretty much. Obviously, you have to have generators to
Yeah.
supply your power. But
There's-
you were there for 10 days. So how did that work?
So-
they leave you a car and you went to go get gas once in a while, or how's that work?
So the fuel capacity of Pymac, which is the name of the boat, is 1,200 gallons.
Okay.
And there's 2 generators on the boat, one on the port side, one on the starboard side, which is left and right for those of you that aren't nautically inclined. And
Yeah, motherfuckers, you don't know talk about boats and shit.
just thought I'd explain here.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah. And so it depends. Technically, this boat is what is called a generator boat, which means if you want like the air conditioning, the toilets, and like the basic quality of life stuff to function, you either need to be connected to shore power or have one generator running.
Yeah.
And that's because the generator runs the 120 volt bus. You need to run a generator to get your AC power. And Dad recently, and I had a hand in this project too, getting a system set up where it can run off the batteries for about 8 hours. So basically enough for you to, like if you're at anchor, you can, turn the generator off and go to bed for the night, wake up the next morning, start up, and you'll be fine. But the boat's big enough and the systems on it are complicated enough and power intensive enough that for the most part, if you either need to have an engine running or you need to have a generator running in order to keep it functioning.
So what did you guys do? Did you guys run generator the entire time, or did you guys do to land?
So we only really need to run a generator if you're at anchor.
Okay.
And when we're underway, if you want the air conditioning going, which you needed to have the air conditioning going when you were in like Florida through, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, like sort of the southern states where it's really, really hot and humid. Like the average temperature was like 95 with like a 70%, 80% humidity thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the AC running, you'll just die because if you go down below, like in the basic cabin areas, it's even hotter than that because basically floating on a big piece of plastic, a big
yeah.
insulator.
Yeah,
so
right, exactly. Yeah, it's 90 degrees outside, and you're sitting there just boiling inside there.
and it'll be like 110 down below.
Yeah, yeah. So okay. So you don't use the generator. So when you were sitting there docked for those 10 days that you were sitting there by yourself,
Yeah, that's
are
you've
you
got
plugged?
short.
Okay,
You've
okay.
got shore power plugged in. I mean, if you're running the generator for 10 days, that would be
Oh,
god.
it's so costly, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not just that, but it's also the hours you put on the generator. I mean, you can quantify. It's like, all right, how many hours does it take per oil change? How many hours does this generator have before you have to rebuild the generator itself, the engine block itself? I mean, there's a bunch of maintenance stuff that you need to put in, and you can literally tabulate, how much. But including upkeep and fuel, how much does it cost to run the generator per minute, per hour, whatever you want to do? So it's like, all right, it's constantly, a trade-off on, what do you want to do? Do you want to hang out at the dock? Do you want to go out and be an anchor? And so you run the generator. By the way, one of my jobs was just absolutely disgusting. So
Does it lick the toilet seats?
no, I gotta tell you, shit.
Oh shit, he did lick toilet seats. Then that's
No,
what I'm
this
hearing.
this is a Blackwater project, is what it's called. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 toilets on the boat, and one of the toilets on the boat wasn't working. It was backed up, like we couldn't figure out what the problem was. And Dad took it upon himself, and since I was there, it's like, all right, we're gonna fix this. And so now you have to like dive in and like disconnect piping here, and then you need to like look in, pump water out, and then like sometimes this piping that you want disconnect already has like shit water in it.
Yeah.
So you've got to drain all that into like a bucket and then ferry that overboard, and then when you're doing that, like that water smells like awful. Like, oh gosh, it's like, have you ever been to a marsh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what a marsh smells like.
Yeah.
Just imagine that multiplied by 10.
Yeah, it's almost like manure on water. Like
Yeah, it's just like it pulls it out. It's just
yeah.
like you're just immediate gag reflex. And Dad said, "This is what you're doing. You're going to be doing this, and I'll supervise and tell you what this is what you're going to do." So I spent half a day doing that in 95-degree weather with no AC on.
That's just the shit smell. I can feel it.
Oh God, it was awful. I mean, it was genuinely traumatizing. I was nauseous for like a day and a half, 2 days, and then we fixed it, and then it backed up again.
Oh God.
And I was like, Dad, I love you, but you're gonna need to pay someone to do this because I'm not doing that again. I'm not categorically.
Yeah.
I
don't want to be a part of that right there. That's not fun.
It was not fun. It was very much not fun. That was probably the least fun project, though. I mean, I also said to him, like, if you ever have a Blackwater project again, don't call me for it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this too: when you guys were going down the intercoastal like that, there's obviously bridges and stuff like that. Was there ever a moment where you guys had to open shit up or no?
Oh yeah. So that's
what was your guys' clearance up above?
So it depends. Like, there's a whole bunch of bridges down the ICW. So the minimum height for a fixed bridge, one that does not open, is 65 feet, and that's more than high enough for us. But what you have to worry about is the bridges that do open. Even some of them, the clearances are low enough that you have to worry about the antennas, the VHF antennas, and the radar arch.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Mom and Dad had to consider when they were shopping for the boat is there's this arch where all those antennas and everything are on has to be able to fold down, because the clearances on some of these bridges are low enough. I think it's something like 20 feet or so, and the antennas and the radar arch, I think the highest point is 28 feet above the water. So in general, we didn't have to fold over the radar arch, but sometimes you get on the radio and they've got like a cheat sheet with all the various channels you go to, and then you get on the radio, call them and say, hey, we'd like to request an opening, and that if all goes well, they'll open up for you. And some of the bridges are timed, like they open at 8:30, they open at 9:30, they open at 10:30, or like hourly or half hour.
It's a lot of pre-planning.
Yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and kudos to my mom for doing that because she did all of that, all the legwork on that. But one of the probably one of the interesting parts when we went through what's that Marine training base in the Carolinas?
What do you got? You got it? You know it?
Was it Lejeune? Something?
Yeah, I think Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
The ICW runs right through their artillery range. And they've got a bridge there that doubles as, people actually you drive across the bridge, but it also is a gate for, like, when they're doing artillery exercises, they'll close the bridge and you can't go through. Or, I mean, you could, but you'd probably get blown up. I think we got there at around noon and they were closing it until 4 p.m. or so. And we still had like 3 hours of cruising to do. So we had to post up and hang out there for a while because that was like right on the part of the ICW where you literally have to stay on the ICW. You couldn't go out to go to the ocean, or you could, but you needed local knowledge of the waterways because odds are you would run aground on the shoals. I mean, it's one thing to like run aground on mud, like, the boat will be fine. You wait for the tide and you can keep going. But if you run aground on a shoal, you'll put a hole in the boat, and that's a really expensive mistake.
Yeah. So what'd you guys do? Just sitting there, just anchored in, and
just chilled for the day. Cracked open a couple beers, and hung out. I mean, we had to do a little cruising at night, which was a little bit sketchy. But everything ended up turning out okay.
So 10 nautical miles an hour, pretty much, or what? That's like 11.3 miles per hour. Or something like
at knots, 1.2 miles an hour. So yeah, it's around 11 something.
See, I always thought about how cool it would be is if like you guys are going through those intercoastals, hook up a nice little fat long rope, and then get like a nice big old tube and just sitting there and just start drinking and be like, Pops, like, you're only going 11 miles an hour. Like, normally when you're tubing on the back of like a boat, you're doing 20 miles an hour plus.
Yeah.
So you're probably just getting tugged along sitting there. I thought, like, that's what I thought about in my head. I was like, dude, I wonder if he did that because that would be badass. Like, I mean, it's not safe, right? Because you have so many boats and stuff around, but.
It was more than that. So this boat at between 8 and 10 knots kicks up about 4.5 feet of wake, 5 feet of wake, which is like that tall, and it would not be comfortable to sit behind on a tube, and like you are responsible as a captain for your wake. So as you're passing boats, or if a boat's coming the other way, you actually have to slow down to idle to wait for the wake to go flat, because that wake is tall enough for like some of the skiffs that go by the other way you can flip them.
Yeah.
And if you flip a
Skiff,
boat,
what is that?
Like a little center console, like you're going fly fishing or something.
Yeah.
And these things sit really close to the water. Like they're that far off the water, and they'll go by going 25, 30 knots, and they'll launch off of that wake, and you can flip them with your wake. And if you do that, you are responsible for any damages and injuries. And
so those wakes are awesome for people that are on jet skis.
Yeah, you are, but that's the thing. I mean, it's cool for the people that are on jet skis. Like, yeah, we can go over this wake here, but if they wipe out and get injured, it's ultimately you're liable for it as the captain.
Okay. So I wonder if it's the same like that. Like, so my sister and my brother-in-law, they live in northern Illinois. So they live on the river, and there's this one guy that always goes by, and he always does it right now. This river is, Aaron, what would you say? Maybe about 300 feet wide.
In some parts, yeah.
Okay, probably by them though, 300 feet wide.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about 300 feet wide, and so you got enough room for at least, I say, like, you probably could do at least like 2 to 3 boats on each side going, north and south, right?
Sure.
A good amount, right? There's obviously docks on both sides, so maybe not the safest to do 3 on each side, but
you got enough space. It's
at least 5 boats. At least 5 boats going, either which way is enough. And there's this guy. He's got this like big old. It's like I'm guessing it's like probably like a 35-foot like just big old boat. I don't even know what it is. I couldn't even tell you what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Like up. He's sitting up on top on
Oh,
it.
it's got a fly bridge.
Yeah, and then like it's closed on the front, and like it's just
Yeah.
like one of those big river boats, right? Like it's nothing too fun. Like you still wouldn't want to take it into the ocean and have fun. Like it's river bound,
It's a
right?
riverboat. Okay, yeah.
And or lake boat, I guess, right? And this dude produces a nasty wake.
Yeah.
And when I say nasty, I mean so they have their jet skis off the water about 3 feet or so.
Yeah.
So normal waves that come in, nice
And
good
it
rollers.
hits the bottom of the jet
and
ski.
actually it'll actually like make the jet skis bounce.
Jeez.
3 feet off this huge rolling like rollers that are coming across on both sides, and he always goes right down the center. And one time I saw him coming, and I was like, "Yo, I gotta get this jet ski out there." So I got the jet ski out there. I'm like, "Let's have some fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's do this." Because once he's going on the center, everyone kind of slows off and just sits and waits because you can't. It's not fun. Like you're getting hit by 4 or 5 like 3-foot rollers in a row. Like it's not fun for you. Like in a boat, but a jet ski, you're like, "Yeah, here we go, dude." Hated my first time I did it. I remember I came off the side of it, with him, came off the roller, hit the first one, but then I like hit the second one and like went up.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where like you get up in the air and you're like,
Oh,
oh
shit.
shit. Like when the jet ski starts moving like this, and you're like, this is not gonna feel good, and like your knees hit really hard, and you're like almost running to a dock, and you're like, this is not fun. Like this is not cool.
That oh god, yeah. That's my friend Brandon, and it's a great term for it. Like captains like that, Brandon calls them credit card captains. Any idiot with a credit card can buy a boat. But again, like I said, any damage that you do with the wake of your boat, you are liable for. And that's just, I mean, at least it sounds like this guy's just a fucking idiot. Because, if you're going through an area like that, you should slow down. I mean, it's courteous, it's polite, and you're ultimately looking out for number one because someone could raise a stink about it and you could get screwed in court. I mean, to your point though, like on the jet ski story, like jumping this, like I have a family friend of ours who had this 40-foot flybridge, express boat. And he had a number of jet skis, and we'd go out and he'd like sit down, make a bunch of wake, and we'd jump it. And I went out with, and like I think I was 13, 14 at the time, just young and dumb. And this old man sitting behind me. It was another family friend that came out with the trip, and we go up, and I'm, we're being a little bit conservative going off these jumps. Like you're going off in like a 20 miles an hour, you get a nice little bunny hop, something like that, get some air time. It's like yeah. But I was like, no, we're gonna go for this.
Yeah.
And so I jump out in front of the boat, turn around, and I think I got up to like 45 miles an hour, something like that, off of a 3-foot wake, and it was just. We hit it and we went vertical, like 15 feet in the air. Just went and came straight down.
Yeah.
And, like I was stupid enough not to let go and not try to bail on that. Because when something like that happens, you should bail. Because if you hit anything on there, you're liable to break something if you hit the jet ski instead of the water. And I just got a really bad bruise in my thigh, but the dude that was sitting behind me got a compression fracture in his spine.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I broke the dude's spine. And that was like the last time they ended up selling the jet skis after that. I felt really bad. I felt really bad about that.
Shit.
I mean, thankfully it was he turned out, everything was okay. He made a complete recovery, and
So what? He was just laying in the water, going. Oh.
yeah, he was just like, oh god.
Yeah.
And it was like he was in a lot of pain. Yeah, I felt super bad
Did you
about
have
that.
they have to airlift him out, or was
Yeah,
it
so
just like,
we got him back on the big boat, and we went back to the docks, and we got an ambulance for him.
Okay, all right, yeah, makes
But
sense.
yeah,
It happens, man, dude. Shit happens, right? Like that's the crazy part. Like jet skis are like fun, but they're just like motorcycles, man. They're dangerous as shit. Like if you just get like a little reckless, just a little, like you can fuck yourself up or fuck someone else up pretty good. Like especially when there's docks and shit involved. Like that's what happens like when on the river. So
Yeah.
when you're following a boat and you hit their waves, the rollers on the side, like when you're a good 100 feet from the back of their boat, right, and you're still hitting their rollers. And all of a sudden, like, you get up a little closer, and then you hit one of their big ones.
Yeah.
And then you hit it, and then you're, like, on the flat ground, but that roller comes and hits you in the behind, and you get pushed towards the docks, you're like, oh shit, like I gotta fucking get the hell out of here. Like I don't want to hit this dock right now. Like first of all, I'm gonna mess myself up. I'm gonna mess the jet ski up. And then some asshole's gonna be pissed about their dock because I'm gonna fuck their dock up too. Like, but yeah, it's jet skis are like I think the jet skis are just like motorcycles, man. If you're reckless at all, like you fuck yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's really hilarious is when you're going down the ICW, like you'll see these just really sad, like you'll see like a, probably the best one was like a this boat was probably worth $750,000. It's got like triple, trip Mercury 400s on it, 35, 40 foot long, beautiful boat, and like in some of the narrow spots of the ICW. You can come around a corner going too fast, and if you don't know what you're doing, you'll just go plowing right into the right into land. The ICW is maybe 100 feet across, and if you don't cut it hard enough, you'll just run right up along it, and you total your boat. And so that's exactly what happened with a couple of these. We never saw one live, but I think we came up on one that happened recently within the hour because there was a bunch of like sheriff boats around, and there was there was a chopper circling too, I think, and this beautiful boat was just wiped out right there. And we didn't see anyone, injured or anything, but, you could see a big old hole in the hull of the boat. The engines were just ripped apart. I mean, it was just like, my God, just as this boat probably was going 40, 50 knots, coming around this corner, and you didn't have enough time to turn and correct, and you just plowed right into the shoreline.
Yeah, we ran into once in Florida, so around the Gulf of Mexico side.
Yeah.
And we were going through the intercoastal, just cruising through on like a nice little pontoon boat, and I remember looking over, and I actually have pictures of it. And actually we're on a tri-tune. It was nice. I remember the tri-tune, and so we're sitting there, and we look over, and there's a sailboat, right? And the sailboat is like half underwater, half above, like the top where like the thing is, like it's broken, and it's like in the water too. And there was like
the
two
mast?
or three, like, is that what it is?
Yeah, the mast, the thing that on a sailboat that holds the sail.
Yeah,
That's a mast.
Mast?
Mast.
Mast, all right, I didn't know. But anyway, so
now you do.
It's cracked in half, and it's like sitting in the fucking water with it, right? It's like half in water, half not. And the sheriffs, or like the Coast Guard, was all sitting around them, and they had these giant inflatable things to like not allow it to sink right there.
Oh yeah.
So they would like they hooked up like the boat to these like giant inflatable things, like 4 or 5 times the size of this boat. And like just to hold it there until they could probably get someone to come take it out, because last thing you want is a fucking sailboat to sink right in the middle of the intercoastal where other boats are going, and like then other shit's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like,
then you have to put like hazard buoys around it, and it's a big old hassle. Plus, it's like a major waterway. There's no way they could. I mean, kind of sucks because when someone's stupid like that, or if it breaks, it just costs money to the taxpayer, because that's where it all comes from. You got all these people, you got to, pay the salaries, get all this equipment out there, and then like the salvage team. Yeah, it's fucking credit card captains, man.
What is Arian? It's on the intercoastal, I think, right? Outer Banks, or is that just on the outside of?
Outer Banks is in the Carolinas,
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you guys go past that area at all? Mm-hmm. Where is that? That's North Carolina, you said?
It's North. Yeah, I think it's North Carolina.
Line of Islands, North Carolina. It's in. Let's check it out. I'm gonna pull this up really fast because I was looking at. Oh, so that's technically not intercoastal then, I guess.
No, yeah. I mean, one of the things that was a regret, or that Mom categorically stated, that we are not doing a trip up the coast like we did this past season, was we didn't really stop. Granted, everything was closed because of COVID, so you couldn't really enjoy the sights and everything. Mm-hmm. But it was just relentless cruising, and she was like, we want to go like slow. We want to go see like the Outer Banks. We want to go to Myrtle Beach. We want to go.
So here, I'll show you. So here's Chesapeake, north of there. So which you guys have gone through this?
Let me see.
So you can.
Oh yeah. Oh God, no. So this is Cape Hatteras is what you're looking at here, and that's like where you really have to have local knowledge. There's shoals everywhere.
Shoals. Now, can you explain what that is?
So what shoaling is when the tides, and currents and everything, will move silt and rock and stuff in off the seabed, and they'll get built up into little hills. And sometimes, I mean, it's not shallow; it's too small to be called a mountain, but it'll, where a place where there's supposed to be maybe 25 feet of water will turn into like 3 feet of water.
Oh, shit.
And if you run over it with your boat, it's usually rocky, so it'll just tear the bottom of your boat open, and your boat will sink in 30 seconds. Cape Hatteras is famous for that. And we went through the ICW on that part. That part of the water, or that part of the Atlantic, is famous for really bad weather and choppy weather, even when it's a nice day, and shoaling. So you really need to be an experienced captain and have local knowledge on that.
Yeah.
You want to hear another great story? This is painful. So the son of Viking, the owner of Viking Yachts, and Viking Yachts are a really great manufacturer, or they make $1 million boats. It starts from there, and they'll make an 80-foot sport fisher that costs $10 million, $15 million. So, like, the first order that this kid, the son of the owner here, had brokered, and it was a custom boat, basically built from the hull up. 71-foot sport fisher, beautiful. Again, in that $10 million range. He was delivering the boat to the new owner, or to the owner in the Bahamas, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he was just cruising along, going 30 knots. And he ran over one of these shoals, and again the boat sank in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And this brand new boat didn't even have 10 hours on the engines, was kaput. It was done. That was it. And I mean, that was $15 million down the drain. And of course, the new owner was very much not happy, because building one of those boats, is usually 2 years or so.
It takes a while, right?
Yeah, it takes a while. I mean, they've got an assembly line and everything.
Yeah.
But with anything, it's like you're building a house essentially. It takes time.
Yeah, it's like So what I did is I did some serious digging up on what you would need to create a golf course.
Really? Yeah.
Because I wanted to figure it out. Like, if that's like, obviously you can't be cheap with it, right? They said that normally it costs you $5 million up front. It's obviously buying the land, then having the building permits for it all, because you have to have excavators in there every day.
Oh yeah.
And then the one article I found, it was like, instead of that $5 million, we recommend 10 to 12, and then that's not including clubhouse, which is probably another $2 million. If it's a nice one, it doesn't include carts, everything else. So I was like, okay. So I did like the math. I literally looked at everything, right? Did a bunch of research. I was like bored one night, and I figured it all out. To have the kind of course I would like and how I'd want it, I would do 18 holes plus a 9-hole executive course as well. I would do 2. And actually what I would call them is the Heart and the Rock. So it's like Kevin Hart and The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So you have the Heart, which is the 9 holes because it's small, and you have the Rock because it's a giant course, and it would be like 7,100 yards.
Nice.
So it's like a long ass course, right?
Yeah.
And I did all this research into it, and I found that it would cost me roughly about $27 million to do the course exactly how I wanted it to, with the location too.
So do you remember? That sounds about right. But do you remember when you were driving along PV, like the outside, and there was Terraneo? We went by. We had some drinks there. We played the executive course.
Check it out, you ready?
Oh, you still have the poker chip.
Still
Yeah.
have the poker chip.
Yeah, you still have the poker chip. And then there's a Trump National course.
I'll show the people.
Yeah, there you go. That's the Terranea only has an executive course. And then there's a Trump National that's just up the street a little bit.
Yeah, on the coast though.
Yeah, on the coast. I mean, you got to jack up the price for that, obviously. But that course was not, and originally it wasn't. Donald Trump didn't, develop that really himself. It was originally called Ocean Trails, And they did exactly what you did. You know, they sunk a whole bunch of money into building this beautiful course with the clubhouse and all the carts and everything. And one of the things about where it was is there's a lot of land movement there, and California is famous for the earthquakes and everything. And right, I think it was something like a week before they were going to open their doors, the 18th hole fell into the ocean.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because there was like a minor earthquake, little sublimation, and the 18th hole was gone. And they were out of money. They didn't have any money to build the 18th hole. And I mean, it's not like you can open a course with 17 holes. You got to have the full 18. And so they filed for bankruptcy, and Trump snapped it up for a charm and finished developing it, and it became a Trump National Golf Course.
Well, yeah. So what I found out too was that most people that actually create the courses don't actually own and operate it.
Yeah.
So you rarely ever find an owner and operator of the course. It's normally I'd create the course, and then Joe Smith over there decides that he's got 35 million, and he says, "Hey, I'm gonna buy it out, and we're gonna run it."
Yeah, it's like a capital raise kind of thing. I mean, you either need to take out a massive fucking loan, or you find some sort of an investor that's got that kind of capital to throw around, that's interested in developing a golf course, and you got to pitch it to them, and then you have to answer them, and then it's just this whole interesting owner dynamic with the actual operator. I mean, but that'd be kind of cool though.
See, but how I pictured it was that I would have the money for it, right? Like I had a dream one night that I won, like it was $880 million in the lottery, so you get half of it, so I get like 440 maybe 400.
Lump sum payment.
And then I would take 30 of that and I'd go build a course, and then I'd run that shit myself. And actually, I thought about it. I'd run it like almost like a club style course. So like a club is in like nice bar, like have people hang out. People can come to the club and hang out. People can come to the golf course, hang out, have a good time. Not just like
so it'd be open to the public. It's
yes,
not
yes. And it's like, but you still have like very fun stuff. Like you have nice carts and stuff like that. I also had I wrote a bunch of stuff out. It was really dumb. I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but I actually had one.
Dreams,
it's called the spouse cart.
What?
Okay, it's called the spouse cart. So let's say you and your buddy both have wives, right, or husbands, or whatever you want to go for, right?
Okay, all right.
And you both golf, but your wives don't, right?
All right. Yep.
So it's a 4-seater with 2 golf bags on the back. So there's enough room for the 2 guys to sit in the front and hang out. Then there's the 2 people behind them, like the limousine style golf carts, right? The 2 people sitting, like the 2 wives sitting in between, getting fucked up and having a good time. And then your golf club's on the back, and it's a long golf cart that cruises around. It's called the spouse cart. And it's got speakers and stuff like that. And then you also have the party cart too. The party cart's a fun one. That one is cool. You have it's a group outing one, so it's a foursome. And you only have 2 things of clubs, right? And you rent them from the thing, or you can bring your own.
Yeah.
And you actually play best ball, but you do alternate shots. So it's 4 guys on one team, and it's two teams like that, and it's a party one, and they got speakers and stuff like that, and it's and I don't know, man. I went deep into this. That's why I said it's gonna cost so much for me, because it's like $30 million for these carts.
I mean, it sounds like that. I mean, it sounds like a great idea. Well, I mean, you got to do the study for what's your demographic like? Are there people that are going to be living around here that are interested in that kind of experience?
Well, because I also would do it's funny. I also called it it was called the Schmo package, right?
Oh,
So the Schmo package is for the average Joe that doesn't want to spend $190 on golf that weekend. So it's alternate weekends where if you get in for certain times, during the weekend you get a certain price. But then obviously if you're someone else and if you don't book it that weekend or that week and you get the next weekend, then it's gonna cost you $200 because it's that nice of a course. You know what I mean? We have the little screens up on top on the golf carts, and you know how when you drive and you can't go into some spot because it tells you unrestricted area or restricted area, you turn around or back up.
No carts on fairway or whatever it is.
Yeah. I would have I'd have little map and everything. Drive the cart wherever you want, man. I'm letting you know now. That's fine. But there's sensors on it, right? There's sensors on the course, right? That's why it costs so much. Is that if I find out that you're driving within 30 feet of that green, you'll get
Oh,
charged.
yeah,
And it's a disclaimer. You sign off on it when you get the carts, letting you know. So
no
if
doing donuts on the greens.
yeah, so like if you're sitting there doing like the skids and stuff like that in the middle of the fairway, like, okay, there's a penny. Like, well, you're not a penny, but you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, dude, like repairing a golf course, I mean, there's a reason why it's like, proper etiquette, like you repair your divots. But like it's incredibly I mean, you would know more than that. You've done the research into this, but like to my recollection, it's stupidly expensive
To maintain a year is like roughly like what I found was between $2 and $5 million depending on how your course is.
And you still need it. What are the margins like on like a golf course like that?
You don't make your money back for the first 8 years.
Jesus.
Because unless you like hold a tournament, how are you gonna make your money back that fast?
Yeah, that's true.
You're gonna charge everyone $100 each time. Okay, but you still gotta pay how many ex-employees. You also gotta buy new things when they break. You like all these things you gotta take care of.
Yeah, your
and
overhead.
the maintenance. I mean, you're
overhead, variable cost, and all the business shenanigans.
well. That's why I also thought about it too. Is like imagine if we would have bought. Josh and I were talking the other day. Imagine if we would have bought. I don't know what if we would have bought. $500,000 worth of Bitcoin when it was at $1,000.
Well, so I actually have a bit of a story about that. So Bitcoin has spiked now twice, and I think it's currently trading at $50,000 a coin, I think. And I bought in the first time at when it was, I think, at something like 400 or 500. And I just
56,000 right now.
yeah, 50, oh my God, wow! I
flying.
haven't checked it. Yeah, it's going up. It's a bit inflated. This is, I think, partially because of COVID, and there's getting some reactionary investments into it. It's trading high. But what was I saying? Yeah, so I bought in. I don't know. I think I put $50, $60 in when it was at $500, and at the time it wasn't like an idiot, but when it jumped up to like 2,500, I was like, that's pretty good, 500 to 2,500. I made a decent return on my investment, and I got busy and I didn't really look at it again. And I didn't have any money in for the first jump in 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And when it went up to like 17,000, 18,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it. Like, and it's like, I knew about it and I should have just like put a couple bucks in and just leave it there. Don't even touch it.
So you took your money out though.
I took it. Well,
after the original like big jump to 2,500 or whatever.
Well, it wasn't a big jump, but it was a jump enough that 500 to 2,500. That's like what, 2.5 times your investment, or 3.5 times. Anyway, yeah. So I completely missed the first jump. And then when it dropped off, I bought back in, but I bought back in too early. I bought back in, I think, when it was at 10,000, and it dropped down to like 5. So I lost, half the investment because it was trading way below. And then I kind of got disheartened, and I cut my losses, and I bailed out when it was at like 7.5, which was really stupid because look at where it's trading at now. And I recently got into some investing with some of my friends back home, and they've got a number of different cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's the big one that everyone knows about. The Dogecoin. Yeah, that one's
Doge.
Yeah,
sorry.
that one's. I mean, it's kind of a gimmick. It's a fiat currency. There's an unlimited amount of it. There's not. I mean, it went up to like 8 cents for a minute.
I know. I invested when it was at 2 cents.
And did you sell it when it went to 8?
And I sold when it went to 8, and I got out right away. And then now it's back down to like 5, and I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad I got when I did. I made like, dude, I invested like $30 into it or something like that. I think I made like.
Well, if you got in at 2 cents and it went to 8, it's 4 times your money. So
yeah, and then I think I've invested some of that stuff into other shit, and I lost a bunch. So whatever, but
yeah, I mean, what I'm currently invested in is Stellar Lumens. I got like $100 or so.
What's their ticker?
XLM.
XLM. Okay, cool. Continue.
Yeah, and I got like $100 or so in Bitcoin, and what else? I think I've got some in DAI and Cosmos and a couple other.
Have you heard of Algorand before?
maybe.
Algo ran crypto price. It's so Josh invested into it, and
Yeah.
it's a
Is an Ethereum based token?
so it's Algorand is a cryptocurrency and a blockchain protocol that aims to
That's all the
systematically
cryptocurrencies, but yes.
Okay, yeah, it's that's all I'm getting on it. Of course, they don't even show me a price.
Yeah.
Oh, $1.36 right now. It's down 4%
But
today.
this is where I was gonna like segue into what your brother-in-law is.
Nope.
Nope. Never mind. I got
Yeah. You can talk about what he's done like to help and sure, but
just what the I got a recommendation.
From Joe. Yeah, Joe.
And
Yeah.
for Bioharvest was
Bioharvest. Yeah. Was that just what was their tickers?
let me pull it up. I got it on my E-Trade.
Bioharvest. Here, I got it right here.
Yeah, I think it probably would have pulled up. It's a Canadian company, and it's primarily marijuana, I think, but they're expanding. Or when we had the conversation about this, it was like they're expanding into the medical field as well. And like the entire principle is like it's like in video games, like where you got like the essence of frost or the essence of fire or something like that. Like it's the essence of marijuana, like THC, whatever it is, and it can distill it down with this bioreactor thing they've got. So I bought in there at like 10 cents, and now it's trading at 55. And it's the same thing that I did with Stellar Lumens. I bought in when it was at not quite, like 15 cents, and now it's trading at 55 or 60.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever heard of Hexo before?
Hexo, is that a crypto?
No, Hexo is a weed company as well. Now get ready for this one. This is where I took my biggest beating of this year or last year. So originally they were at I got in at 80 cents. They were at 80 cents. I think I had like a little over like 45 shares
Yeah.
at 80 cents. Call up Joe. I'm talking to him about this stock. He's like, "Oh, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you should stay with it." Like, and I was like, "I don't know. I'll stay with it for a little bit." All of a sudden, I saw it pop up, and it was at like $2, right?
Nice.
And then I start talking to him, and I go, "Yo,
Should
man,
you
it's up
stick
at
with it?
2, whatever else." And he goes, "No, man. I still think like there's just room for that just to plummet, right?" And I was like, "So what do you recommend?" He goes, "Recommend you get out, man. I recommend you get out." And I was like, "Fuck." Left another week. It just sat at 2, and I was like, "All right, I'll get out." Got out. A week later, 1 week later, I go on. It's at $5, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Fuck.
"Oh my god!" So then I'm sitting there and go, "All right, fuck him. Like I'm gonna reinvest again, right? It sucks, but I'm gonna do it, right? Because I think they're still gonna go up." Got back in at like 490 or something like that. Another like 50 shares of it, whatever else,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
and it ended up going up to like 7, right?
Nice.
And then it like was at 7 for a little bit, and then it started going down too much, right? And I was like, all right, like I'm gonna watch it. If it hits below 6, I pull and I just take it and go, right?
Yeah.
Sure enough, it does. I take it and I go, boom. Sure enough,
It's
at $8 now.
Oh god. Yeah.
And at one point this year, they were at like 8.30. This
Welcome
year.
to the stock market.
Yeah,
ladies
and like
gentlemen.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, actually, sorry, their highest mark that they were at was at almost as at 950 is where they were at.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I'm like, yo, I got in this thing when it was at 80 cents.
I mean, that was like, it's kind of like if you're really feeling strongly about it, it's like you pull out your initial investment because like if it goes up to $2 and you bought in however many shares at 80 cents, pull out, what you initially made, and then you're just playing with house money, essentially. That way you can sort of just see where it goes. I mean, honestly, I mean, I do like with crypto and like some of this other investment, these stocks and everything, and penny stocks, honestly, is just for, it's kind of cool, like some of the stuff like I like do some research into this. Is like, I would like to see this succeed. So I want to invest in it. Oh, by the way, if it succeeds, it's going to reward me with, a decent chunk of cash.
Yeah.
And what I also, it's kind of like, it's technically a high risk investment because it's essentially a penny stock, but you only need to put in a couple $100 and, it jumps up. Like if you buy in at 20 cents and then it goes to $10,
Yeah.
you've already done really, really well. And like, for instance, like Stellar Lumens here, like is trading at 50 or 60 cents. I think it's probably going to go in the next couple months. I think it could go to 10, or it could break the dollar mark,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I mean, my mentality right now is just to I've got as much in as I'm comfortable investing, and I'm just going to leave it. I mean, it's if I lose all of it, I won't be. I mean, I'll be a little bit upset, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to be bankrupt, or I'm going to have to file for bankruptcy or anything. But if it takes off, like Bitcoin, or if it takes off like a couple of the other cryptocurrencies have taken off, like you can, you may not have enough to buy your golf course here, but you'll get a good chunk of change.
Yeah. So all right. So check this one out. So I got two of them for you here. So like in April of 2020 or so, it was right. It's a company called Harvest. Same thing, weed company.
Yeah.
It's based actually here out of Tempe. And they were founded in 2007, whatever else. They were like, when they plummeted, they were down to like 86 cents from like originally being at like, $10. So they plummeted. And Joe got in at that point, right?
Nice, yeah.
And then they just kind of went back and forth, and he kind of just was like, and then it went back. It went up to like 110, then it went down to like 80 again. He was kind of like, I don't really want to be out on this. Got out of it, right? Now they're at 4.5.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with my Afria stock. Afria stock is a weed company as well, based in Canada. Same thing with that one. I told him about it with Hexo, and he liked Afria, but he kind of like didn't know about it yet. And he kind of was like, I don't know, like, you be careful, right? So in September, I got in at $5. They're at $20 right now.
Nice,
And again,
dude.
but I sold because there was a time where like they just plummeted, and also being a poor college student,
it's like,
I said, "Yo, I need $40 this weekend to get some drinks during COVID, so I gotta pull this money out and put it in my bank account today."
Yeah, I mean, I can't count. Like, I think there's like 6 or 7 times where I actually did the math on like the money that I pulled out of Bitcoin, because of that reason. Like, I need like this $100 or so, to do something, and let's just say that if I had not done that and I just had bitten the bullet or done things a little bit differently, I could have. I'd have a new car, have some very nice clothes. There's
You have a new car, or you would get a car.
I would have had enough to get like a new car, some nice clothes, like that kind of
I'm
thing.
busting your balls a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
No,
yeah.
we don't have to go into that.
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What did you drive out here?
My mom's car.
The Lexus?
Yeah, Lexus.
Oh, yes. Mr. Spain drove from California to the poor place of Arizona and in his mom's Lexus.
At the risk of getting, heckled a little bit more, I got pulled over on the way.
Oh, I knew it! I knew it! I told someone earlier, I said, there's a good chance. Did I tell you?
Yeah, you did.
I did. I was on the phone with him. I said, I bet you this bro's going to get pulled over. He said he's going to be here around noon. I bet he's going to be a little later because he's probably going to get pulled over. What, were you speeding or what were you doing?
No, I was not speeding. I was completely it was really freaking stupid. And I just wasn't thinking. So like the highway patrol had pulled someone over and was in the midst of writing them a freaking ticket. And I didn't get over to the left lane. They were on the shoulder, of course, and I was in the right lane. But apparently, even if they're off to the shoulder, you're supposed to give them a bunch of space. And I completely forgot about that. I was just rocking out to the music, and I was like, "Oh, someone got pulled over." And then, like the guy, I look back, and the guy's immediately pulling out, and I was like, "Wow, he wrote that ticket really quick." And like I'm just cruising along, and like I pass another dude, and I get in front, and I was like, "Wow, this cop's still following me here. Like, what's the deal?" And he gets up, right behind me, and like I'm only going like this was, in the middle, we're in the 75 zone. I'm going like 78, so it's like not really going to write me a ticket for that. He pulls up and he lights up the red and blues here, and I pull over. And I was like, I mean, was this like did he think I flipped him off or something? Like, what's the deal?
Which isn't illegal.
No, it's just not illegal. And I pull over, and the guy comes up to the window, and it was really funny because like I kind of reached over to put on my mask, and then I just sort of sat there for a little bit. I was like, oh wait, I should probably turn off the engine. And then the guy comes up and he's kind of like pausing for just a second, and then the cops will touch your back headlight, so that their fingerprints on there if for some reason you decide to commit a crime or whatever it is. Anyway, he comes up hesitantly, and like I had rolled down the window, and I was like, what seems to be the officer?
What seems to be the officer problem?
What seems to be the officer problem? What seems to be the problem, officer? And is like, you came in a little bit close on the right side. You had plenty of space to move over into the left lane. There wasn't anybody around you, and you're supposed to do so. And we're really cracking down on that because we've had two officers get rear-ended essentially in the past 2 months or so. One resulted in the injury, and the other resulted in a fatality. So I'm going to have to write you a citation for this. So they do, or the guy does. And so he's like, I need your license and registration. And oh, by the way, this was perfect because my driver's license expired on my birthday. And this is like and this is during a COVID environment, so it's not like you can go down to the DMV and get this renewed. But I had made a point of getting it a real ID, so I had ordered another one online, and thankfully it got here in time. I don't think I would have driven out here without an updated driver's license, but it got here in time. And I hand over the license and registration, and he comes back, and he's like, dude, you have the coolest name ever. Which, for the record, my name is Jon Buchanan Spain, and that officer did think it was pretty amazing. And then we talked about Game of Thrones, which was the nerdiest.
And he still gave you the ticket too?
He still gave you the ticket.
I know, that's what usually happens. When you start to like get like a good conversation with the officer, you're like, all right, this dude's not going to give me shit right now. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, here's $120 ticket or something like that? Or what was it, $80?
I didn't check. But the guy said if you do traffic school or do the little online traffic school, you don't have to pay the ticket, or that it's waived and you don't get points off your license. So
you guys do points too. We don't do points in Illinois, do we?
No. But if you get like over X amount of tickets in a certain time, they'll suspend your license.
Yeah. So we don't do any points though. We don't do a point system. I know Illinois does it with the DUIs. I think it's, what is it, 2
Jesus.
or 3? That if you get 2 or 3, you get your license taken away for like a year.
Something like that, but I never had any
DUIs?
DUI, so
It's like 2 or 3. I think it's like 2 or 3 DUIs. You get taken away for like a year suspension.
But that's like a felony, isn't it? If you driving under the influence.
It's like I don't know. Is it a felony? I don't think it's a felony. I think it's like a
misdemeanor.
Yeah, but it's like a high class misdemeanor.
High class misdemeanor.
You checking it?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just like this is like in California. Grand Theft Auto got like decriminalized. You can steal a car and you won't go to jail.
What?
No, I'm dead serious.
That's so fucking stupid.
This is. I'll tell you a story about it. So, high school. This was, I think, junior year. So we had 3 cars. We had this little rinky-dinky Honda Accord, which was what it was the kids' car. It's what my sister and I drove. Mom usually drove the Yukon because her car got totaled in an earlier, event being parked on the street, and Dad had a Beamer. So the Yukon and the Honda usually were parked outside the garage, and the Beamer was in the garage. So I had 0 period, so I had to leave, or I usually left like at 6:30 or so, sometime early. And I was used to like Mom, sometimes leaving even earlier than I would. So I left, and the Yukon was not there in the driveway, so I didn't think anything of it. And we get to like 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the day, and then like the principal gets up, is like, "Can Jon Spain come to the office, please?" And then that's the usual, "Ooh, you're in trouble." And I go up to the office, and Dad's standing there, and he's looking a little bit like angry. I was like, okay, this is either like someone died or I really messed up. And he just asked me to say, "Hey, John, did you take the Yukon this morning?" And I was like, "No, took the Honda." I was like, "Okay. Well, looks like it was stolen." Like right out of the driveway.
Oh, really?
Right out of the driveway. And this was at the point in time where we didn't have cameras facing the driveway with the that basically point right at the Yukon. And that in order to file a police report, you need to, in order to get it, because there's a GPS receiver, and you need to file a police report for the little OnStar thing to be able to be activated. They found it, in the middle of a seedy neighborhood, sort of downtown, and then the sheriff sort of staked it out for a while, and they brought it back. I mean, apparently the racket is with a car like that, like the back seats removable. They'll take the back seat, any valuables in the car, and what else? I take one more thing and I'm blanking on it, and they'll sell it. Like the back seat's worth like $500, and just because mom was using the car, the back seat wasn't in the car; it was sitting in the garage. So they took my mom's gym bag, the Fast Pass, which is useless to them because all you have to do is say that I lost it or it's reported stolen, and the whatever it is, the tire pressure monitor that she used to check the tire pressures. They left the manual and the registration, and everything else. It was just like, was this just out of spite? Did someone piss us off?
So, all right. So Illinois does a misdemeanor for DUI that has a maximum penalty of up to 1 year. Now, you said that there's nothing for California, but I'm going to fact check you.
Really? I'm pretty sure it got decriminalized because Grand Theft Auto used to be a felony. It's not anymore.
So it says here that you can go to jail or prison up to 1 year county jail or 16 months.
But was it? Is it a misdemeanor or is it a felony still? Because my information.
If it's a misdemeanor, you're only up to 1 year in county jail.
Yeah.
But if it's a felony, so I'm guessing there's probably something else that you probably did.
Yeah, that's like Grand Theft Auto with aggravated assault, probably.
Yeah, so it's called Grand Theft Auto is considered a wobbler offense. It can be filed as prosecuted as either as a felony or a misdemeanor. If it's filed as a felony, the maximum penalty could receive 3 years in prison. Charged misdemeanor, 1 year.
Yeah, I mean that's also part of the reason. Like I told you about this, I think when you came out to visit, like that they have cameras on all the entrances to PV. Mm-hmm. Like there's only like 2 or 3 ways on and off the hill. And they've got cameras, license plate cameras at all those entrances, and they'll flag people. Or it's not quite as Big Brother, 1984-ish. Is like if you don't have a residence here, you immediately get flagged, and the police are on your tail. But you will get flagged because it's hooked up to the police database. Like if the car is registered to someone who has misdemeanors or felonies or has a history, the sheriff or LA County Sheriff gets notified, which is it's interesting because I think this is probably, or PV's like one of the only cities you could do that with in Los Angeles because of how closed off it is.
So, all right, so this is what I found here. So I did a little more digging in here. So if you steal a vehicle worth $950 or less, then it's only a petty theft as a Grand Theft Auto instead of a Grand Theft.
How is it evaluated? But yeah,
right. Like what they go to CarMax afterwards and they say, "You're sorry, sir, but your car is worth $949 only because you live in California and you paid $9 million for your house, but you can't afford a nice car." Huh?
No, yeah. I mean well,
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Have you been seeing this though? I wanted to talk about this quickly too. We'll try to wrap this sucker up here pretty soon because I know you've been driving and I don't want you to. We still have a long day ahead of us here.
Oh jeez.
Well, I guess not that bad.
I'll just grab some coffee.
We're not partying like we used to. But I wanted to bring this up to you in this thought because I don't know if you've heard about this at all. But a lot of very rich people are leaving California.
Oh yeah,
they're all going to Texas.
So I have a good friend of mine who is a young urban professional in Santa Monica. And he got hired at this great firm, great starting salary, all that. And he just, and I was following along, he got moved in, his girlfriend moved in with him, found a job in LA to sort of follow my friend here. And, his boss was like, so How would you feel about moving to Texas?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and Cole's like, well, I just I signed a lease. My girlfriend's out here. Like, I can't really do anything. But and like the office is considering like downsizing and moving everything out of California. This, by the way, has actually been happening for years now. This isn't new. It's just starting to get big enough now that it's hitting the news. It's a brain drain. You got a mass exodus of people that are wealthy or have made a fair amount of wealth, that can afford, that can take everything and just be like, hey, let's go someplace where it's cheaper. They're doing it because the property tax, income tax, state income tax, and just the policies in California are like there's a huge amount of animosity, it seems, towards if you make more than $100,000 a year. You're not treated very kindly by the state. And I'm working on my law school applications, and I was seriously considering doing or applying to a number of schools in California, and I don't want to anymore because where you apply or where you go to law school is generally where you practice regionally, and I don't think there's a future for me in California trying to get a job there or trying to practice law there.
Do you think that in the state of like California like that, do you think if it's there's enough people that leave like that, do you
Oh,
think
yeah.
that there's a way that they might almost try to reconstruct their state in a sense and say, okay, well, obviously we need to drop prices in this and that. Like, do you think that'll ever happen in our lifetime?
Well, okay, so this is what's interesting. So the people that are leaving are like business owners, executives, and also like engineers and finance guys. The people that have usually are fairly well educated and have good jobs, again, that can afford to leave. And this is what's insidious about a brain drain. We talk about it in politics and debate as well. When you take the educated vote out, because those are your educated voters, you lose that voice that's like, hey, these policies are putting out about just raising taxes on the rich, and just raising property tax, and just screw you if you make more than $100,000 a year. That voice is gone. So now you have basically those that are either below the poverty line or just above the poverty line that are doing your votes or making your votes, and they're looking for handouts. They're just like, what can the federal government or what can the California state government do for me? And the name of the game there is just deficit spending, and eventually what'll happen, because unless California does a 180 when it comes to policy with businesses, California may just collapse. Because I don't think under the Biden administration that'll happen. But if Donald Trump was in office, because the federal government bailed out or has made a policy under the previous Obama administration of bailing out California. Like, they would, you need to be propped up for this new policy or this new legislation you're putting out that, puts a bunch of money in, or you're doing welfare programs for people that, aren't really trying to look for jobs or something like that, or whatever it may be. They're spending way more money than they're taking in. And the Trump administration said, we're not doing that. And unlike the federal government, California can't just print money and, give it out. They can't devalue their currency in order to make ends meet. So Biden may take and do a policy of what Obama did and prop up California. But eventually it's just, you're not going to have any productive businesses anymore. The aerospace industry is dead in California, and it used to be like Space Park in San Pedro and everything. That was, Boeing, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman. They had all their satellites, airplanes, all the hundreds of millions of dollars in taxable income were there, and that was very, very healthy for the state. But since their policies are so not kind to business. They've moved their factories to Texas or Australia or to places where land's cheap and taxes are cheaper.
So, all right, now ready for this one? This is going to be like an out of left field thought process, but give me your opinion, and I'd like to hear Aaron's opinion on this one too. Do you think that there's ever a chance in the history of the United States from here on out that there'll be a time where, and I'll use California as an example. So you have Oregon that connects, you have Nevada that connects, right? And then you have Arizona that connects, right? The 3 states?
Yeah.
There's no the fourth one, is there? Between Nevada and Oregon, is there something that connects right there? Or no?
Washington?
No, Washington's north of Oregon. What else? There's only 3 states, right?
Nevada,
Now
California, Arizona.
map of the U.S. Let's see.
Yeah.
Aaron, what do you got? Anything over there?
I'm gonna let you figure this out. You look like a retard.
There's 7th grade geography class that you didn't get an A on.
Okay, no, I just didn't know if Nevada ran all the way to the top or if Idaho slipped over, but Oregon's huge. Anyways, do you think that there's ever a time? Ready? Now, we'll do 30 seconds on the clock for each one. All right. So you're getting in
Okay.
on this one too, buddy, and we'll wrap it up after this. I think there's ever a time in our country, and I'll use California as an example, that Oregon, Nevada, and Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona, all 3 would say, okay, well, to help this state, we're going to spread our borders of our state going this way a little bit more, and you would go from 50 states to 49. 36 on the clock.
You couldn't. The Supremacy Clause in the United States Constitution disallows that. It would have to be a federal government measure in order to make that happen. The states don't have the right to do that.
Will there ever be a failed state in of all of our 50 states where they'll eventually get taken over by another state?
Again, that would be a mandate by the federal government. I do think California is heading that way, though, because it is a state run by 2 cities, San Francisco and Los Angeles, which is stupid.
I completely agree with him. He's right.
I was hoping. No, Arian, I was thinking, you know what state would be cool if they mixed in together? If they just took Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana, and they mixed them all together, and they said, fuck you, here you go.
I'd rather take Wisconsin.
No, Wisconsin doesn't want any part of us at all. You know.
I know. I would love to be more a part of Wisconsin. Well, Indiana's not bad.
Yeah.
They'll just change South Dakota or North Dakota to 1 state.
The Big Dakota.
Texas will take over New Mexico, Oklahoma.
Oh, are we doing land grabs with the states now? Jeez.
New York will become all of the northeastern.
Was this going to turn to the Hunger Games? You're going to have districts instead of states now?
Yeah.
Let's just have the fucking Civil War. Let's do it.
Yeah, geez, yeah.
What would that do for us?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to watch.
Well, it's actually I watched a podcast about this. It's the subject of Shays' Rebellion is being parametricized to the current times because that was the impetus that turned us from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution that we have. Which, if you didn't know, Kyle, our original governing paper was the Articles of Confederation, was not the Constitution of the United States. And after Shays' Rebellion, a bunch of people in the summer of 1787 got together and wrote this Constitution, and it had to be ratified by the states, which is what we have now. So, but what that Civil War idea is talking about is the Shays' Rebellion was a bunch of really angry farmers that didn't want to pay their debts because they couldn't. And if you couldn't pay your debts, you actually went to debtor's prison. You went to prison if you paid if you borrowed too much money and couldn't pay it back. And that was because of the policy under the Articles of Confederation. That's how it worked. If you couldn't pay your debts, you went to prison and you worked it off, and odds are you were just a slave for the rest of your life. So now it's not quite that problem, but it's the policies that the federal government has, or some of the policies that the federal government has implemented under the Biden administration or the Obama administration, which is they're going to keep extending these, is disagreeable enough to enough people that there's going to be a civil war. They're going to say, screw this, we have the right to overthrow a government that we feel is unjust.
You think in our lifetime?
It's a possibility. Although it's funny because in theory, the people that would want to instigate the Civil War that are angry with the policies would win because they're the only ones that actually like guns. So,
Yeah, we'll leave it at there then. We'll wrap this sucker up right here. We got a big weekend coming up. Well, kind of. We got a big day coming up. We're going to do some day drinking over on Mill. Because you know why? I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt right now, bro. It's not 30 degrees in Illinois and not snowing or something like that. We're about to go out, have some good drinks with some college ladies. You know what's about to happen.
oh, God. Yeah, it'll be great. I'm more looking forward to a couple of drinks with friends than schmoozing with college ladies.
Yeah, something about college ladies during COVID.
Yeah.
You don't have to only worry about one disease. You have to worry about two.
Oh, that's...
Especially at ASU.
Oh, God.
All right.
All right.
All right. I appreciate you coming on the show, John. As always, it's always been a blast with you. And
pleasure to be here, man.
I'm glad that we got the weekend here where we can kind of hang out and do whatever. But I'm excited for. It's just cool. We went from episode 1 to now we're at 55.
Maybe in another 50 episodes I can be on here again.
Yeah, maybe that time you get paid though.
Ooh.
All right. Appreciate it.